Welcome to voice lesson number 2. In the first lesson, we made a joyful noise unto the Lord. And we sang a lot of different vowel sounds with the L on them. Now, we're going to talk about what are the 3 basic facets from the Latin word facere, meaning to make. What are the 3 basic facets of good vocal production? When I say copycat, you repeat what I just said. Are you ready? What are the 3 basic facets of good vocal production? Copycat. Number 1 is mental awareness. Copycat. How am I going to sing? Copycat. Beautiful and freely. How do I know I'm singing beautifully and freely? Well, beautifully, in terms of how a voice sounds, has many, many different concepts. When I learned it back in 1967, taught by my voice teacher, who's much like me now, because I've been at it so long, over 50 years, Mr. Lyle Moore told me that it should be like a beautiful nightingale sounds, like the beautiful sound of a dove. Now, many people, though, think that a crow sounds pretty good, or a blackbird, or a goose, or a duck. I would say that if it's beautiful, it should flow through your throat without, when you make the sound, without your veins sticking out to help it, without your face turning red, without your jaw having to get tense and jut or jam down wide. None of those things are part of a beautiful sound and a freely produced sound. This is so important because the singers of today, who are helped by some very famous vocal coaches, did not either understand what the vocal coaches were teaching them, or the vocal coaches did not understand how to produce freely and beautifully a sound. So if it's freely, no veins sticking out, no jaw jutting to help, no tipping of the head, no redness in the cheeks, and your little Adam's apple called the epiglottis, put your pointer finger sideways on it, on the top of the bump, and gulp. Do that 3 times. Where that goes to is the natural position of the epiglottis. The epiglottis is actually the front of the vocal bands, and they're stretching into the back of the throat. I'm pretty sure that's right, although I do have the gift of ADHD. Please let me know if I've reversed that today, after 50 years of teaching. Anyway, so you gulp. Then you try to keep your head level, as Seth Riggs taught and teaches, making sure that your breath is silent in through your mouth, travels downward, doesn't raise your chest, but actually makes your abdomen stick out, sides expand, back expand, and even bottom expand. I call that an FSBB, front, sides, back, and bottom expansion. Now we're ready. And you put an H in front of it, keeping the head level, make a little mouth like a little tiny fish, and go, hoo, without that moving. If you're not sure what it feels like, don't know if it's moving or not, put your finger on it and use it. Use your finger as a guide. Woo! 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 And then we move on from there. So that's called a yansai. The best way to learn it is with a who, because who is sort of like an owl hoots. Whoo! Whoo! Whether low or high. Whoo! 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 Or way up high, like a tiny little chickadee. your voice will be much clearer and louder than that way up there, because I, knowing fully well how to sing correctly, sang hard rock with the tension that's involved to sing really hard vocal rock, and I damaged my voice. I've had 2 surgeries to correct it. Now, many singers who've studied with famous vocal coaches, either not by understanding them or getting the wrong information from the vocal coaches, have damaged their voices and had surgeries. There's an article that you should read. In the electronic newspaper, you'll find it on the internet. And the magazine is The Guardian, Guardian. I think that's how it's spelled. And the article is, Why Do Singers Like Adele Keep Losing Their Voices? It's written by 2 very famous Italian vocal coaches and a doctor, ear, nose, and throat specialist. A lot of truth to it. A lot of truth. So, now, that's the first one. Beautifully and freely. Mental awareness. How am I going to sing? Beautifully and freely. Number 2 is my posture. Whether I'm sitting, as I am now, or standing, as I am now. And you can't see my head, but you'll see that my rib cage is comfortably lifted and expanded. You have to do that and keep it that way, because we expand so that we may breathe. We do not expand, we do not expand because of taking a breath. So we do not breathe to expand, but we expand to breathe. Copycat. We do not breathe to expand. Copycat. We expand to breathe. So with that in mind, we're neither tense or relaxed, but we are poised with the energy of a dancer in action, surging through our bodies. And we have that visual energy as well. Then we take our breath silently in through the mouth. It travels inward, downward, and it expands, as I said earlier, the intercostal muscle set, front, sides, back, and bottom. With that in mind, we now are going to try to do who. That's what I have all my students do. When they start, oh, do you see any tension from me? You shouldn't. Oh, and I'm covering quite a range. In fact, many of you would say that's not possible for you to do. Well, it isn't yet. Many of you are already singing and having a great time making your joyful noise. However, you can't sing too high. When you try to sing high, your head tips up, neck gets tight, jaw sticks out, turn red, veins stick out. No. All you have to do is keep it level, gulp, and make a tiny, tiny bird-like throat in the back and sound like a little bird. Oh! Oh! Now you may notice that mine's a little bigger than yours. Well, it should be, because I've been doing that for about 50 years. The upper part of your voice, if you haven't used it correctly, is like a little 6 to 8-year-old, possibly 8 to 10-year-old girl or boy. And you have to treat it that way. Remember, just slide down and then extend the sound and let it come into a ringing in the ears, pinging in the head, a buzzing in the mask, and a wiggling, which is your vibrato. If you're doing it right, this is comfortable, no tension, and you're energizing it, you'll get a vibrato and probably a very tiny sound up high. Now, I'm 74, a full-grown male, and I'm a high tenor. When I studied with my teacher, he couldn't teach me to do that. He didn't have the knowledge. I had to learn that over the years. I'll talk to you more about that in the next lesson. But the book I actually began to learn it from is called The Voice, written by Enrico Caruso and his doctor. See you soon. Bye-bye.